Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? No. Well, that's a good place to start. Is that any better once I'm closer? Yes, can you hear me in the back? Yes? Okay, great. Good morning. My name is Jen Massey. I'm the Pro Bono Director at Children's Law Center. Thank you all for coming to our housing conditions training today. I am going to go over a brief introduction before we get things started. You have a lot of materials in front of you. I will review them and orient you to the day. So thanks so much for joining us. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Children's Law Center's Pro Bono program. I know some of you are currently partnering with us or you've come to other trainings and events, and some of this information may be repeat, but it may be new to some of you. I will talk again about our overview of the training today, discuss what takeaways we hope that you have when you walk out. We're not looking for any of us to be experts just after one training, but we'll talk about the key takeaways and places that you know to look for materials and references moving forward if you take a case with us. So first, I'd like to talk about just the overview of our pro bono program, and you'll see the need, the reality, and the impact here. We have pro bono partners that really span the spectrum of practice, and we are happy to say that our pro bono partners find success doing these cases, whatever their daily practice might be. So whether you're a transactional lawyer or a litigator, we have had pro bono attorneys in both types of work, all sorts of different daily practices, find success doing our pro bono cases, housing conditions, as well as the other matters that we place pro bono. The fact is, being a lawyer, spotting issues, being able to streamline issues in dispute, being able to just serve as an advocate for a client, it goes so far on these cases, and so the mere presence of a lawyer can make all the difference. The families that you are assisting when you take on a pro bono case with Children's Law Center would otherwise go without a lawyer. So there's a big difference being a lawyer versus not having anyone there to advocate in that role for the client and family in need. So that's where I like to start, because if you haven't done this before, most people haven't done this before, but you can find success doing it, and it makes a huge difference for the clients that we're serving. Thinking about the who of Children's Law Center's pro bono program. So you have staff at Children's Law Center, myself, as well as Alyssa Tender, our pro bono and intake assistant. You'll get emails and reminders from Alyssa. You'll also work with a mentor if you take a case with us. So we have over a dozen mentors at any given time who are serving in their practice area mentoring pro bono cases. So if you were to take a housing conditions case with us, then you would get a mentor who mentors on housing conditions cases. You've got a couple of them here today who are going to be presenting on the legal aspect of these cases. So you might be meeting your future mentor. Our pro bono attorneys, I mentioned, we really have a spectrum of folks who are partnering with us. In terms of eligibility to take on a case with us, you need to be eligible to practice law in DC. So you might be DC barred or fall under an exception under the DC Court of Appeals Rule 49. We do have non-lawyers who engage on these cases with lawyers. There's a lot of investigation, and there's a lot of quality assistance that can happen through non-lawyers helping out on these matters. So keep that in mind. What? So you all are here for housing conditions. That is one of 4 major cases that we place pro bono each year. We place approximately 200 new matters pro bono each year. Most of those numbers are falling under the 4 categories that you see on your screen. So housing conditions is one of them. We also have another matter that comes from our medical legal partnership. You're going to hear more about that today. Those are special education cases. And then we have a couple of family law cases that you see listed on the left. So custody, guardian ad litem. Those are cases where you represent the best interest of a child in a contested custody case. And then we have caregiver cases. That's where you represent a third party seeking either to gain custody, guardianship, or adopt a child in need of a safe and stable home. So those are the different types of cases. You have a lot of different papers in front of you today. One of them is an available cases list. So this list includes housing conditions cases, special education cases. When you turn turn it over, caregiver custody cases, and custody guardian ad litem cases. These are cases where we are looking for a lawyer to assist. We are, of course, hoping that after we've got this training completed for Housing Today, that we'll have some volunteers able to help with the cases that are listed. You'll be all set and ready to go by the end of this training to take on a case. We do actually have a new case, so there are 3 that we're looking for lawyers. So cases A and B on this list. We have a 3rd case that I just received last evening. You'll see in the first case, there is mold in the home that might be impacting a 9-year-old child's asthma. There is a second case about a severe rat infestation and mold. And the new case that we received last night, there are serious rat issues in that case as well. So you're going to hear about, these are very representative matters. You're going to hear more about them today, the medical aspect and the legal aspect separately, and how these things come together. So I won't steal anyone's thunder by going further into the details, but I wanted to pause there and say these are great examples of the what of our pro bono program and some sample cases. We do have some Spanish-speaking needs in the cases that are listed. We don't always have them, but when we do, it is a really high need. That is a language skill that we do need for certain clients, and so please let us know through the pro bono attorney survey if you haven't already, if you happen to speak Spanish or other languages where you might be able to assist those clients. Where do we get our cases? So these are the referral buckets for the different matters that we place pro bono. So judges send referrals to us directly when there is representation needed for a child in a contested custody case. The medical legal partnership, we have pediatricians and other medical staff who are sending referrals to us for the cases that you're here today, for the housing conditions as well as special education. And then we have members of the community who get in touch with us also for some of these cases, special education and housing. But a lot of the caregiver custody matters, we'll have third parties like grandparents and other relatives and kin reach out to us directly to do an intake looking for a lawyer to assist them in their legal case. How do we support our pro bono partners? So we have 3 buckets listed here as well. Starting on the front end, we screen our cases for pro bono placement. So there are certain cases that come to us that are complex, that really require our in-house resources and expertise and experience. So we're going to handle those cases at Children's Law Center. There are lots of cases that fall under pro bono placement that are appropriate for a pro bono attorney, appropriate for someone who isn't an expert and experienced in doing this work. So we're looking at screening on the front end to support you taking a case so that you can feel comfortable and confident that this is a case for me that I can do successfully, even though this is not my main practice area. Training and resources, we offer trainings like today. We will be video recording, the firm rather is, video recording today's training, and we'll upload that on our website. The PowerPoints, other materials are on our website as well. So there are resources there to access whenever you're taking on a case. And mentoring, I mentioned just a couple of slides ago. So when you take a case with us, whenever we find that fit, that's a good fit for you, we send out a case placement email and we have a mentor assignment there. Once you've cleared conflicts and you're ready to get working on a case, you're going to have a mentor who's available to give you initial recommendations. So you'll get an email and it's going to be someone who's looked at that intake for Mrs. So-and-so, and they're going to say, okay, this is what I recommend you getting started for this particular client. It's tailored to the intake and to the case. We hear from our pro bono partners lots of reasons why they do pro bono with Children's Law Center, why they repeat doing pro bono with Children's Law Center, and a lot of it comes back to the things that are listed on this screen. So it's very hands-on work, direct representation. You have opportunities to work on client counseling skills, communication. There's a lot of negotiation involved in all of our cases. A lot of our cases for pro bono settle and are not going to litigation, and oftentimes that's what's best for the family. Lawyers can also litigate and have some opportunities there if you're interested in that. So we can always talk about what is a good match and what cases might be teed up more or less for that. Concrete concrete results for children is listed last, but of course that is not at the bottom of the list for people who are taking on our cases and enjoying just to see the results of your advocacy. So you can make a really big difference. The families that we're serving have a lot of things on their plate. They're juggling a lot. And when you're able to come in and help with one slice of that plate, use your legal advocacy skills to make a difference, it can often make an improvement in the functioning of the family as a whole. And so you'll hear more about the client realities as we go through the training today. And for housing conditions cases in particular, you're going to hear a lot about the health needs. And so we have kids and family members who are really struggling in their health. You'll hear from one of our medical partners today more about that. And so what people report back as being particularly rewarding about housing conditions cases is once you actually ameliorate the conditions in the home, that can make such a drastic improvement in the health of a child and the family. We're often seeing the children sick and adults sick as well from various conditions in the home. Okay, getting involved. You're going to see a list here if you're interested in getting involved with Children's Law Center. Some of you are already doing these things. We have a listserv where we send out cases like the case list that's in front of you, trainings to let you know how to sign up. My email address is here. I talk with people to find a good match. What type of experience are you looking for? I can do my best to match that with the client needs that we have, or we can talk and stay in touch until we find a good match. Ultimately, we're looking for you to feel successful and excited about the work that you're doing so that we're helping clients move their legal needs forward. The case placement process, this is just a quick slide and this is in your materials. Once we find the right case, the case placement email goes out. I mentioned earlier that you get your mentor assignment at that time, and we have some different just first steps initially for different case types that we send out in that case placement email along with the intake so that you have some general recommendations for getting started in addition to the tailored ones from your mentor. Okay, moving on to today's training, a couple of logistics. Coffee is to the back and food. If you haven't gotten any, please feel free to help yourself. Many thanks to Pillsbury for hosting us today, for providing refreshments, for providing the materials that are in front of you. Once you exit the conference room, you will see the women's restroom and then the men's. So just on the right, down both halls as you exit. In terms of the Wi-Fi information, you should see a half-sheet piece of paper somewhere near where you were sitting. So this is today's information, and I'll have one in the back if you need to grab it. And then let's talk really briefly about those materials in front of you. So there's a flash drive. If you don't have a flash drive in front of you, we got a few up front. This is a training material. This is a training manual with lots of material on it. So we don't print that off. You probably wouldn't want to carry that out, and it would not be good for us to be killing so many trees by doing so. We have this on our website, but we also have it on a flash drive for you today. What is on it? You have some loose pieces of paper, and then you've got a big stapled packet. This handout cover page will tell you that number 4 is the training manual table of contents. So everything on that flash drive is listed on this table of contents. You're going to see samples. You're going to see all sorts of resources where you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And some of this stuff is going to make more sense the further we go through the training. So I invite you to look at it later today. But you'll see different documents in these cases, different aspects of the law, and it's all on that flash drive. It's all on our website. So keep that in mind. You'll also see, excuse me, a trainings flyer if you're interested. We still have another winter, early spring training scheduled for caregiver custody that's coming up on April 2nd. We sent out our pro bono attorney survey. I referenced this just a moment ago in terms of language skills. There's other information that we collect that helps us in terms of being effective and efficient in our pro bono case placement. If you filled that out electronically, thank you. If you haven't, we invite you to fill out the hard copy today. And then we have an evaluation form. So these trainings are for you. The idea is to support you in considering pro bono with us or taking on a pro bono case with us. If there's a way that we can improve, please don't hesitate to let us know. We will collect the evaluations at the end of today's training. Okay, so you'll see in that big packet that we also have our agenda. So as I am about to step aside, we're going to start off with medical aspects of these cases and then shift gears into the legal aspects of these cases. And I had previewed earlier that a couple of our housing conditions mentors at CLC will be leading that section, and one of our medical partners is going to be leading the medical aspects section. Before turning it over, I just want to get back to the takeaways that I promised you. So there are all sorts of acronyms. I mean, that's a full sentence. There are so many acronyms. We're going to be going over a lot of them for housing. They're in your materials. So remember that you can look back at these things. There's no quiz when you leave today. We're not expecting you to master this. We're expecting you to gain familiarity. Please feel free to ask questions as we go if you have them, or write them down, send them later. But ultimately, you want to get a sense of what's really going on medically. Where can lawyers pitch in? What does that process look like? And then as you're taking a case, you'll have a mentor to be able to ask questions and engage with, but you'll have a lot of materials to go back to. So hopefully at the end of the day, you're going to remember, I've got this big packet, I've got these slides, they spell out the acronyms, I've got this flash drive, it's also on the website. I can find resources later. I do not have to invent the wheel. We already did. And we update it. We update the wheel as we go. Okay, so remember that there's a huge need in these cases. We get a lot of these cases that we cannot help families with at Children's Law Center because we're at capacity. So we rely on pro bono attorneys and our partners to really help us make a broad community impact. And we're having success doing that. And we look to have some of you today join that effort with us. So moving forward and turning this over to really dig into the medical aspects of these cases,